My friend. Again, so much of this sometimes is related to the time of year, but welcome to Ask Mike. And the time of year right now, I think that people are starting to get stuff on the field and they're
Mhm.
starting to put music with the movement. We've already been going to some Friday nights. Is it time to start considering some of the musical aspects of what we do as opposed to the physical?
Yes, and this idea, I think I'm gonna hit on today is simply dynamics.
Okay.
Dynamics, um,
As
and
in be a dynamic group
that's right, like a '70s boys band or something, I don't know. Like the Bee Gees, be dynamic,
or something.
or
The Bee
something like that.
Gees.
The Bee Gees. Hey, we played music in the Bee Gees at my prom. Come on, man, give me a break.
I like the Bee Gees. I just never think, I don't know that they crack my top 5 of dynamic.
Well, when you compare them to Kansas,
Well, true.
they're
Okay. I'll go with it. I'll go with it.
me and my disco generation. But yeah, but dynamics are something that we approach highly in every level if you really want a strong program. Okay. And
Okay.
so it's not just when we put our music on the field, it's when we learn our music, etc. But we'll get into that later. Okay.
Okay.
But I'm going to start with a simple definition that we kind of everyone learns and understands. Dynamics in music indicate volume, how loud or how quiet the music is.
Alright. I could
That's
go with
probably
that.
the simplest definition. My horn instructor from my drum corps days would say the simplest definition of music is silence and sound.
Huh.
That's the
Okay.
simplest definition of music is silence and sound. That can be a log that we're hitting as a Cro-Magnon. That could be a, beautiful cello solo. You know what I mean? So it's
I
a
do.
but that's a really cool definition. I've used that to my benefit a lot over the years. But I'm going to kind of challenge some belief systems out there this morning. So
Okay.
I might get some blowback on this one. But the true value in dynamics is not just an adjustment in volume. The volume factor is that's what's on the surface.
Right.
Yeah, there's louder music and softer music, but there's no universal agreement on the exact number of decibels that makes something piano or forte. So there's that contrast thing that happens, but it's so much more about, and here's the two words, contrast and intent. Contrast and intent. What do you intend? What is your contrast? We can also call it contrast and emotion.
Okay.
Music without dynamics is not emotional. It's
I agree.
machine
I
like,
agree. Right,
you
right, right.
know. So we have to
Monotone.
approach
Yeah.
I approached this with my sixth grade brass classes, all the way to my high school marching band, to jazz band, to concert band. That even line 14 with no dynamics written, I can play it on my trumpet and ask them to copy me, and I can play it and sound sneaky. I can play it and sound sad. I can play it and sound excited and jumpy and you know, excited. And I'd ask them to copy, and and I could get them to do it. And they would notice that, hey, when it's exciting, do I play stronger in volume, like louder, or do I play softer? When I play
Mhm.
sneaky, is it softer or is it louder? And they would tell me because it's common sense, isn't it? Jaws doesn't start out in the movie as the two note motif at fortissimo. It starts way in the background with a bass
Right.
player,
Right.
or maybe it was a cello. I don't know. But it starts and then it gets up to the scream. Okay, so it's about contrast and emotion. Okay, so, the next level in understanding this contrast and volume is we're trying to create interest, aren't we? It's
Right.
musical. It's not always musical interest. It's the context of the show. We're going to talk marching band, but this can be applied obviously to concert band, middle school, concert band stuff, prepping for fall concerts. But it is a solid start to using dynamics in this podcast and our performances and rehearsals.
But see, you're feeding into my you're feeding into my side of the fence at the moment. I love it because
Oh,
it is music.
yeah.
It is music. Yeah, I know it's marching, but it's music. We've had this conversation ad nauseum, but let's get into it because you're exciting me. Let's make
Yeah.
music.
Yeah. We got to make music. If we're not making music, there's no point in doing it.
Yeah. Agreed.
It's a pointless, expensive, energy draining activity to end the month and then go, "Did we make any music this month? I don't think we did, but boy, we know all 45 sets.
Curious to say we moved.
We can move, and we can blow, and we can make notes, and we can Did we make any music? No.
But everybody else doesn't know this. I'll tell them. I send you stuff all the time that I think is cool,
And I love it.
and inevitably, it's got some really musical things going on, including dynamics.
Yeah. And some of it's like pure shock and awe,
Yeah, yeah,
like the future core from Epcot that used to exist,
yeah.
and so it's just like it just blows you away with the intense volume and then the different contrast. But yeah, you're right. I always love it. Every time I get some
If,
kind of message from you, I'm like, cool, Derek found something fun.
well, if you can walk up as a trumpet player and start on a high C and then go from there
And then smile.
and act like I did that.
Yeah. That's just I'm just warming up, man. Just warming up. But
Okay. So how do we do this dynamic thing?
you got to describe it to the kids. Dynamic should be seen as character. A dynamic marking a piano might be looking for something tender or mysterious or intense or full of suspense
Yeah.
or with quiet energy. And the list goes on and on. It's not just play this soft. All these ideas will result in something slightly different than the volume perspective.
Right.
Okay. And so I'd like to throw out there to, if you can afford it, for any of your soloists, I would always mic them.
Okay.
Because if you don't mic a soloist, you're reliant on the balance of the band and of them playing their instruments behind the soloist, and you've just taken away 90% of their emotional dynamic ability. Because if they play soft, they disappear.
Right. And see if I'm wrong. I also think that if you got woodwind soloists, you're asking them to compete against the rest of the band without a mic.
Yeah.
That's
Even
a
if the
hard
rest,
ask.
even if the rest of the band's not even playing,
Right.
and they're just playing their flute or their clarinet, they're at a
Just not designed to project like a brass instrument.
they're at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
As a brass instrument, it's like a firearm, man. That sound goes right out the bell and it goes whatever direction you point that thing.
Right.
Okay. A flute goes every direction at once. A
Right.
clarinet goes every direction at once. It's just a quieter, and I always laughingly say this, but it's the truth. Brass instruments are nothing more than plumbing with a bell and a mouthpiece. And somehow we've got to figure out how to make those things musical. The woodwinds have quite the advantage. They have what we call musical instruments.
But you can prove that point on YouTube
Yeah.
with garden hose and a trumpet mouthpiece
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and a
I can
funnel.
I can play pretty well on a garden hose, pretty close to my $3,000 box Strad trumpet.
It's
So it's not, but I can't do that with a flute. Or
right.
have you seen those guys who've taken like those carrots and
And
hollowed them
make
out,
clarinets.
make clarinets out of them? It's not even close.
Right.
Not even close. It's just the note. But yeah, so we don't have musical instruments. We're just brass players. We're just like the silverback gorillas of the ensemble, So we do what we can. But give them a chance. And I know that's a tough field to get into. There's lots of I've noticed I kind of troll around looking and stalking on the band director Facebook pages and
Right.
Instagram and social media because I don't have any input on it because I just know that generally the more expensive it is, the better it is going to be for the kid
Sure.
and the performance. But there's lots of oh gosh, there's lots of guys out there that just get on those pages, and there's some of them that have done it for years that will tell you exactly what to buy in a medium range of expenditure that will
Right.
be reliable, and those kids can emote all kinds of emotion,
Sure.
and it'll be beautiful. And you can add a little bit of I called it delay. They call it reverb now. In the old days, we call it tape delay. Remember those days?
Right. Yep.
Yeah, tape delay, and now it's reverb, and you can add all kinds of cool effects and filters, and
It's
it's
kind of
really
a
awesome.
guitar term, the tape
Yeah.
delay. But let me ask you this. Does this meet the qualifications for electronics if you mic your kids?
Yes. I don't know if it meets the qualifications. That's a pretty broad statement, but it certainly helps in the fact that you understand electronically how you're going to raise the level of your musicianship without covering up other things.
Sure.
Because you could do the same thing by miking a flute with an old bullhorn and have someone hold the trigger in front of them, and that would not meet the criteria of electronics.
I
But
get
if you
it.
can prove to them that you are using electronics to up the level of musicianship and balance within the front ensemble and balance of the entire ensemble without anything overriding the other. I know that's been an argument for years, and it's a truthful argument. If a bass player is sitting in the front ensemble and they override the entire band, that's bad use of electronics. That's going to
Right.
count against you because all I hear is the bass player. The bass player doesn't know in a band you must mute the strings after you play on the release point. You can't let it ring like you would if you were playing in a regular band.
Sure.
You've got to know where the cutoffs are for the tubas. So, to answer your question, I think it helps in a lot of ways, but it's not the end all of what has to
Well,
happen.
I just asked from the
Hopefully, good.
standpoint of you're using a wireless mic system, you are having to use a mixer, and the kids are doing it. You
Kids on the mixer, yeah.
right, you have to do the things electronically to make that work. I just wondered if that would meet the and again, help me remember, electronics don't lose you points, but they you don't get the full value if you don't use them.
Right. If going back to one of my previous podcasts, if you really want the band to be in that box five where they're actually performing, this isn't the end all, but it certainly helps them.
Okay. So I steered you off on I'm sorry, but back to dynamics, using
Yeah.
electronics to create dynamics for instruments. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't it cool when a flute player can play pianissimo with a beautiful vibrato in the lower end of their instrument and have it heard well by the
Amplitude.
audience?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the audience and performers will appreciate it. The audience, the judges will appreciate it, and the judges are important. But more importantly, do the performers feel like they're actually performing?
Sure.
You know,
I can't help it, Mike. I got to say this too. It's just probably something worth doing early in the season because different mics work different ways. You have to factor in, is it going to be windy? You have to factor in, does this take a stand? Who's going to set it? Is it attached to the instrument? So there are considerations, but mic them.
yes, yeah. There's 1,000 considerations. Is it phantom powered? Do we have to replace a battery? Is the wire shorting out? Is the kid on the mixing board confused? Is the person running the transmitter pack? Man, it's a can of worms.
I promise you, if you
But it's
show up
worth
at
it.
contest in West Texas and the wind's going 50 miles an hour, you better have thought about it.
Yeah,
So anyway,
yeah.
I'm out of the way again.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. All good stuff. Okay. And you want to apply this idea of all dynamic levels, not just we play loud like in the 80s. We play loud and then we don't play at all. Our light switch was on and off.
Either
We,
or.
yeah, either we give you a brain concussion in the stands or we make you go to sleep. There's no in between. Mezzo forte was not a dynamic marking that existed in the 80s. It was and I won't go into the letters for the dynamic markings we actually used because people will figure them out and I'll be censored by the people that censor. Okay. But just make sure that all your dynamic markings are smart and musical in what you do. And smart and musical is not always soft.
Right.
Musical is, I would tell kids in a clinic, I was down at Fredericksburg, wonderful band program. Sometimes I want them to appeal to my medulla oblongata, to my brain stem. I want to be the caveman going, me like this, me like this lot. And then there's other times I want to go, that's the most gorgeous clarinet solo I've ever heard in my life. It just makes me go to another level of aesthetic appreciation. So
Right.
sometimes you want to attend to the brainstem activity that's happening in your judges and in your audience,
Sure.
know?
Okay.
And also this idea of intent, it completely changes the sound, even with the same dynamic marked. Think about that for a second. And that's something. My
Right.
best example of that I would give my little trumpet class because we're modern technology now. We have these things called they can YouTube. So I would always tell my beginners that YouTube Wynton Marsalis classical, YouTube Wynton Marsalis
Bebop.
jazz,
Yeah.
and he'll play with that airy, breathy, cool sound that he wanted for that New Orleans second line uh, how beautiful hymn tune, and then you'll hear him on the piccolo playing the theme to Good Morning, whatever it is, on Sunday mornings. You know what I mean? And it's
I
just a
do.
totally different sound, and he can play soft and make it sound completely different. We
The little
must.
flourish. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. We must define the shape of the, and this is another one. We have to define the shape of the phrase within that dynamic level. Not only do a
Okay.
lot of bands never do dynamics, but then they never contour it within the phrase. It just we go soft to loud at a gradual level. Okay. This idea of intent is what makes the music come alive.
You say This is almost I automatically go to CSI or Intent, but
Intent, yeah. Is this
I mean,
murder one or is this
you're saying that can be dangerous.
negligent homicide in dynamics? We want murder one in dynamics. We don't want to hurt anybody, but in dynamics, we want to be intentional. It's planned, just like on Law and Order when they say this is murder one. Okay,
Conk,
um,
conk.
yeah, bunk bump, and so we've got to figure out how we do it.
Right,
In a full ensemble, we work to run it. We always run into these issues. This is one that I think is an important one that directors miss. Sometimes older directors miss this. A lot of times in many arrangements, parts are marked with all the same dynamic level.
right,
It says forte. We as musicians, director included, and performers, we must know how to alter our respective level to make the ensemble sound like a forte. The composer wants the band to be forte, not the first trumpet part to be forte.
right. Okay,
And that's a dangerous, slippery slope to be on. Because if kids take it as what, and look at your score, because some directors don't do it that way. Composers, Randall Standridge, he will write the dynamic he wants you to play. He'll write the first trumpets at a mezzo forte and the tubas at a fortissimo.
okay,
So you can look at the score and tell them, play within the realm of what you've been given. Or sometimes you have to tell the kids that first trumpets, that's just way too much. Quit
right.
that. Quit that. That's annoying. Okay. And I'm a trumpet player. I used to be a first trumpet player. Now I play a really mean third trumpet part.
Yeah,
Okay.
but Mike, let's pause for just a second. I think it translates. I've seen you clinic a march, a classical march, a Sousa,
Uh-huh.
and explain the difference between what needs to happen in the trio versus what happened in the A section. That it, learn
It's
the
not
intent.
it's not written.
Right. You have to learn it.
You have to
You
learn
have
it.
to pay attention and listen.
Yeah. And
So
what a great point, because a lot of this, there's lots of times, and I don't know if I'm going to throw anyone under the bus on this. I'll go clinic a band, and they'll be playing something that has really good source material. I mean, it's Tchaikovsky.
right.
And then you'll turn to the director at break and go, "Hey, have you heard the Chicago Symphony play this
Just say,
particular
have
piece?"
you ever listened to this?
And they'll literally go, "No." I go, "Why not?" You know, so that's the first thing I always do if someone is has enough forethought to say, "Hey, come work my band." If they'll send me their show, then I'll go and try to find source material. Sometimes it's all originally composed. You know, I think some of the bands. There's a show by Paul Hasso called Cosmic Frontier. It's brand new. It's brand new this year. It's a mixture of Star Trek, Clint Eastwood, spaghetti western meets The Mandalorian
Oh,
meets
wow.
Gustav Holst with Mars. So have you ever watched The Mandalorian?
I have.
Okay,
First
so
season for sure.
The Mandalorian, think about it. That's Clint Eastwood.
It makes sense. Yeah.
The Mandalorian's a spaghetti western.
Right.
Okay. So Paul Hasso, great composer that he is, put all this stuff together and put this incredible show. And for you Skyrider people out there, it's the one I'm going to push by being on the board that I think needs to be our show next year because it's brand new. We'll have to do it at a simpler level because I don't think our kids are at the level of the band I'm talking about. But Cosmic Frontier. But so there's tons. First thing I did was, man, I spent 5 hours going down that rabbit hole of listening to all this spaghetti western music. And is it Enrico something? I'm embarrassed that I don't remember his name. The composer of all the spaghetti western music.
Huh.
He passed away a few years back. YouTube that one if you want to go down a rabbit hole of the live recordings of that stuff. Um, buddy, ya, da, dee, da, good, bad, and the ugly, all that
Right.
stuff. Those are actually people singing and whistling.
Yep.
No, that's not produced by some synth or computer. Okay. So keep that in mind. Figure out on the score what the source music is. Figure out what is the intent. So it's not that we all play forte. It's not that we all play piano. It's we play within the context of our ensemble. So our decibel level is determined by the fact, and I love this one. Shout out to Mr. Dane Richardson. I'm sure he stole this from somebody. He's smart, don't get me wrong. But the only person I've ever heard this from is Dane Richardson. That we have to figure out, are we the melody or the harmony? He would always say, if you have the melody, project it. If you don't have the melody, protect it.
Right. The
Those,
melody's the baby.
those are golden words. And you
Yeah.
can say that to a band over and over again. Okay. And they will address the issue. And I've had clinicians that'll say, say, "Hey, it was 6 months later. I'm working on our contest piece." And I ask a kid who has the melody, and some tuba player chimed in and goes, "If you have the melody, protect it. If you, yeah, project it. If you don't have the melody, protect it." So the words live on, just like angry feet in marching. Angry feet is my touchstone.
It's your
You must
legacy.
have crazy eyes and angry feet and make a first division. You have to have those two things, okay?
And dynamics.
And dynamics, yeah. You can actually make a one without dynamics, but you're not going to get any further. Okay.
Right.
So address dynamics, think beyond volume, think about what we are trying to communicate, explain that in detail. You might think you're wasting your time, but you're not. You're not.
It is amazing to me the things that we think are time wasters sometimes. I just don't have time to do that.
Oh, yeah.
If you would take the time to do that, you wouldn't have to teach so hard in 2 weeks.
Oh, Lord, yes. Or to unbreak their bad habits, because now they've
Right.
played the whole show at Fortissimo. Now you
Right.
got to break all those bad habits, and it changes everything.
So let's take the time to explain before they develop.
Yeah. The issue of distortion in forte moments and breathy, unsupported sound in piano moments. Those things are what happens because the kids will try to do everything you want them to do.
You're saying that in a negative context. Distortion in forte is bad. Breath in piano is bad.
Yeah, unless it's like a soloist and you're looking for a certain mood right then. But they have the whole band kind of just barely, expending their death breath through the horn to play the last note is not a great musical moment. Okay, so you have to figure out, or not figure out, you have to explain to them and show them in detail, hopefully with their section leaders on their instruments, how do performers adjust the airspeed versus embouchure pressure, amount of lip that's vibrating inside the cup of the mouthpiece for brass players. Am I using everything in the cup of the mouthpiece to vibrate? Am I just using just the very tip of my bottom lip and the tip of my top lip, just enough to make a sound? Do I start the sound without a tonguing? Do I start it with a breath? These are all things to consider because they can be done very, very well. And people say, "Oh my, come on, man, this is so high level." I mean, my kids don't even know what time band starts. But you can do one or two of these a week. You can do one or two a week. You know, and,
Funny.
and they might not ever know what time band starts. Do you know why? Because they don't care.
Can't say not on their top priority.
They don't care. Dr. Tim says it best. Dr. Tim Lotzenheiser. You only remember what you have to remember to survive.
Right.
Everything else we forget. And so it's not that dynamics have to survive, but they have a vested interest in, oh, so if I do dynamics, not that it's to please judges more, which it does, but it's because it's more fun.
Right.
It's more fun to be a musician than to be a musical electronic emitter of notes. Okay. Um, Another thing to address, changes in pitch with dynamics. Everyone needs to be aware of that when reed players, our saxophones and clarinets, when they play forte, they will play flatter. They've got to
Right.
firm up and
Right.
lift the pitch up. Brass players and flutes will play sharper.
Which is a lovely combination.
Lovely combination. Now we've got a quarter step and it's 20 degrees, and the mallets are a quarter step sharp. And the synths have tuned to the temperature. So now you've got four temperature variables happening at the
Right.
same time. And just go ahead and shoot me and just have it done with. Okay.
Yeah.
But if they understand how to adjust to things, they can do it. In soft moments, of course, it's the opposite.
Right.
Right.
And again, I'm going to pull something out that you said before.
Pull it
Um,
out. Pull it out.
Music is physical,
Yeah.
not just marching, but the actual making of music is a physical thing. From in terms of not just how do you play the note, how do you make that sound, but in how it affects you as you play the sound.
Yes.
And I find so much more investment from the kids when they hear it right and they understand how to make that happen. They want to do that because dopamine, is that what you talk about?
Yeah.
There's no greater dopamine than in tune music played well in a moment,
With emotion.
in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. I call it the Pavlov dog moment.
Ding.
You just want to ring that bell every 5 minutes, man. Ring the bell, guys. Ring the bell. Do it. Do it.
Right.
Because I've been, you hear a band and I know you've been in these situations, and I love it when I judge contests. I'm in that situation where you almost drop your recorder because it's like that was the most
Wow.
intense,
Yeah.
loud, beautifully full sound that made my brain stem just wiggle,
Right.
or that was the most amazing flute cadenza to finish the show with as the band gently came off the field. And it's just so musical. And it comes down to that's with dynamics is this might catch me some flack. I think only with dynamics can you communicate with the audience.
I would agree with that. And
Yeah.
listen, I think a word that keeps popping through my head as you talk about this is dynamics can be relative.
Yeah.
Whatever your piano is, that helps you set the foundation for what the rest of your dynamic levels are. So you find where you sound good piano wise, and everything's relative to that. But I, we've had this conversation too. There was a season, and I was so thankful to hear you say you think we're kind of pulling back the other way. I don't know if it's a pendulum swing, but there was a season where everybody played nothing more than mezzo forte under control, and we basically had a concert band on the field. I've never been a fan of that per se, and I think dynamics was missing in that environment. So I'm
Yeah.
glad to see that I think it's kind of coming back, and that's why this conversation is very important.
Yeah.
You can still do some of that control stuff, but you get the chance to do some of that big look at this too as well.
Yeah. And I'd like to add to that. That's exactly right. I'd like to add to it that only do it a little bit at a time because I find that the most common problem is bands try to play too loud.
Right.
So
Well,
kids,
when we were growing up, our directors would say, "I want you to pin people against the stands. I want you to knock the glass out of the press box." I mean, that's what they told us. That's what we did is
yeah,
loud and big all the time. And there were soft moments, but
yeah.
you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, but there are also moments when we played loud. It wasn't really very musically pleasing, but it was fun.
That lovely buzz edge on the tone. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't have any sharp glass and blood involved in the process. And there's times kids would play and there'd be blood in their trombone bell. And I'm not being overly dramatic. They would actually happen. they,
I've
would,
seen it.
they would see the spit first, and they would see little rivulets of blood in their trombone bell because
They
they
split their
split
lip.
their
Yeah.
lip. It's like, oh my gosh, kids. And we kind of lived on that kind of a Navy SEAL approach of playing. So yeah, it's still not going to ever be at that level, which I'm kind of glad of because it's
I get
very
it, but you understand what my point.
but yeah, but your point's correct. But directors sometimes kind of go back to that idea of just play loud. No, no, just play a little. I think the strongest thing we're getting to this next is ways to work with your band to get this accomplished. But one of them
Okay.
is don't necessarily tell them to keep playing louder. Keep telling them to breathe deeper,
Okay.
and they will naturally start playing louder a step at a time. Just breathe deeper. Make it uncomfortable. You're breathing so deep. More uncomfortable than orchestra or band. Breathe so deep that it kind of hurts to breathe that deep. It's very uncomfortable. It's not normal. And so you keep telling them to breathe deeper all the way to the belly button, a full pitcher, a full gas tank, whatever you want to describe it as. And they will get stronger and stronger in volume with a good sound, by the way. If you
Right.
just say play louder, louder is not a compliment.
So let me ask you this source material. You've seen God's horn section warm up, the crown,
Yeah.
the space notes and all the stuff that they do, and they follow him for dynamics. And is that would that be a good? Because I don't think I hear them make bad sounds necessarily. They play a lot of dissonance.
Yeah. But they're all 20 years old too.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I do
It can be
understand.
done. That
Yeah.
loud doesn't have to be ugly.
Right. Loud should be full and powerful.
Right.
I like to think instead of play louder, play more full, play more powerful,
Yeah.
play more resonant, make your bell buzz,
Make
make your
your buzz.
make your nose tickle.
All right. All right. All right.
Yeah. You know, so you use terminology like that. Perform the fortissimo.
Oh, okay.
Don't play the fortissimo. Perform the fortissimo. Connect with the audience. Does the audience perceive that as being nice? We all have that aunt in our family at family reunions that we call loud. That's not a compliment.
Right.
She's the one that just keeps talking louder when anyone interrupts her. We all have her.
Exactly.
She's in every family. Okay. I say that to bands and they all go, oh my God, he's been to my family
He's right.
reunion. He's right. There is that one aunt or aunt who does that
Auntie.
the whole time, auntie who just talks louder. You start to argue with her and she talks louder. And loud is not a compliment, it's a put down. So, oh man, she's loud. So we
Yeah.
don't want our band to ever be loud. We want the judge to be saying powerful, symphonic,
Mm.
resonant, dark,
Musical.
musical, not, man, that's the loudest band I've heard all day.
Or not
That's not,
ouch.
that's not something you want to hear from the judges. Y'all are the loudest band I've heard in years, you know.
Right. Let's learn to control that tone.
So here's some things to work through this process, my
Okay.
friend. Um, One is, at what rate do we crescendo and decrescendo? And I always have band kids say, "Oh, Mr. Lenny, I didn't know there was going to be math involved." But we like it. We should do most of our crescendo or our decrescendo, 80% of it during the last 20% of the time allotted.
Okay.
So if you have 8 counts to crescendo, 2 whole notes tied together, most of that crescendo should be in the last 2 or 3 counts. Now, our problem is kids tend to be overachievers. So they see crescendo. What do, Derek?
Immediately loud.
Immediately loud. Yeah. They play immediately loud. And then there's nowhere to go. So it's like an old Ford Pinto with the and that'll date me, old Ford Pinto with the throttle all the way open. It's going to go 75 and you can push your foot through the floorboard and it's not going to go 76.
Still going
And
75.
it's going to make a lot of noise and the back end's going to blow up. That's the
And
Pinto. They blew up. Okay. So we don't want our band to Ford Pinto blow up on the field. Now the kids will never get that, but you people of a certain vintage will understand that description. Always tell them that we're always pushing and pulling dynamics across the bar lines. Think about
okay.
that
Okay.
really important point, because our crescendos almost never are they written across a bar line. It always goes to the bar line and stops.
Right.
Why? Because that's how our music notation works.
Makes sense.
But it shouldn't be that way. If I have a decrescendo for 4 counts across in 4/4 time, that decrescendo goes all the way to count 1 in the next measure, doesn't it? It doesn't stop I count 4. So it's not softer, 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 softest. It's softer, 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 softest. It goes across the bar line. Those 2 simple things will make you sound professional.
Okay. So
2
say those
simple
two
things.
again.
First
Carry it
one is,
across the bar line.
yeah, carry across the bar line. And the first one is the rate of crescendo or decrescendo. 80% of our dynamic change should happen in the last 20% of the time allotted.
So it's an 80-20 rule for crescendo.
Yes.
Okay.
And if you'll listen to and I'm a real fan of, of source music, you know that. So if you listen to good jazz bands, Stan Kenton Orchestra, the Chicago Symphony, the LSO, this is what they do. I didn't make this up.
Eh,
I was actually never told this either. And
right.
I
And you
know
may
I've
have
been
never noticed it, but now that you're listening for it, you'll go, he's right.
Yeah, and I've been told this in different ways, but I kind of put it in my words, and I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'll listen to it and go, "Why does that sound cool to me?" Oh, that's what those people are doing on
Right.
strings on the Star Wars soundtrack in 1978.
Yeah.
That's why it has impact. It's the contrast. It's going across the bar line. It's the swelling of the crescendo towards the end. Okay. Another one that's really helpful to me, especially in marching band, but I use this in concert band as well if it's a more symphonic sound band. You know what I mean? Like you've
Yeah.
got 60 to 80 kids in front of you, or I know Sundown, love going to work with that band program. They put like 140 on stage. They've like kids' elbows hanging off the stage.
Right.
But they're a very symphonic ensemble, and I love it because every kid's in the top band, and I love that
Right.
part. Okay, but I like to group my band by numbers, so it's easier to discern. It's easier to explain in the midst of rehearsal. Band 1 is everybody. Everybody plays. Band 1, you play your dynamics, but everybody plays. Band 2 is a select number per part, and I chose this number um, and made a roster so the kids know who band 2 is. So it might be 2 trumpets, but it might be 4 baritones, but it might be 2 trombones. And it might be 3 or 4 clarinets. It might be 1 saxophone, might be 6 tubas. But they know who band 2 is. So I'll just say, no. At measure 46, let's use band 2. because that'll
Okay.
just make it easier. And then band three is basically 1 2 apart, but you always add all your low woodwinds and all your tubas. And
Okay.
it makes it easy to call out and practice. And it's not the end all solve all of everything, but it helps. There's times, and I could play the recordings for you because I love it. When I'll hear a judge with I've got a band of 160 on the field, and they go, "Wow, this large ensemble sounds so beautiful on this piano marking in Salvation is Created." And in my mind, I'm thinking, there's 15 kids playing.
Gotta say, this large marching group with 15 players.
Yes, there's 15 kids playing, and the front ensemble might as well have Nerf balls in the end of their mallets, because they're just going through the motions at that moment. So you just have this beautiful little chorale at some little beautiful Catholic church by 15 of your strongest players. Three might be all staters,
Right.
but just for that little brief moment, for those 6 measures, that's all that plays. And then we turn around and we just waylay them with a triple F, a beautiful sound. It also gives your band recovery time, doesn't it?
Sure.
So it's not everybody playing all the time. Another way to really help in dynamics, if you have this luxury, is don't have like one first trumpet or two first trumpets. Let's say if you want to use at the most two within your show, have four that are assigned first trumpet and rotate them. Have them memorize half the first part, half the second part. So first and third chair play first trumpet for part of the show. Third and fourth chair play first trumpet for the other part of the show. That gives recovery time, and man, it helps out your trumpets because those little bitty mouthpieces and I don't know about you, Derek, but I was a trumpet player. I just loved.
Right.
I practiced an hour to 2 hours a day. I was a geek, and I loved it. You're not going to get that kind of response out of most of your trumpets.
Right.
You
Got
know,
it.
you'll get some, but just go with it. Reconstruct it to make it work for them. Okay.
S-
Um,
So, are
with
you
that,
saying that from the standpoint of endurance?
oh yeah, endurance gives them
Yeah.
recovery time. In fact, there's times in the show I'll tell them, said two play first trumpet, the other two don't play 32 measures before the finale.
Hey, let me ask you this. Say the quiet part out loud for me. The people that aren't playing, do they still have their horns up looking like they're playing?
Yes. So we kind of, oh gosh, what's the group that made it famous with the lip syncing? They
Are you
got
talking about Milli Vanilli?
Milli Vanilli. Yeah. Now the kids won't know what we're talking about now, but the directors probably do. But we'd always kind of, because this is the truth, because there's times we'd add the rest of the band back in. I'd always tell them that everybody still finger march and go through all the motions except don't blow air through your horn, because we might add three trumpets later, or we might add four baritones later. So we don't want it to be like, oh, well, I've forgotten that part, Mr. Loney. You told us that in
Right.
September, and I just haven't practiced it in a month and a half. So we approach it that way, and there are times we do add to it, but plus we want the connection to the audience to be, man, this whole band is playing,
Right.
and professional musicians do the same thing.
And the game might be,
They
let's
just do it
try
with
to
a
figure out
soundboard.
who's really playing. If
Yeah, yeah, they just do it with a soundboard. And I
right.
remember talking to Wayne Bergeron because he was just so incredible playing with our jazz band, and I said, "Man, you just kick it out at 100% all the time." And he goes, "Oh Lord, no." My biggest peak is probably 80% in rehearsal, maybe 83% in a performance. I never go beyond 85% unless I just have a wild moment and then I regret it. And so I always preach that to my band. I never want you playing dynamics past an 85% level
That's
of
funny
what you can do.
because
Yeah.
you say that, and I immediately think, have you seen the video with all the people doing Maynard licks and they're trading them off?
Yeah.
And you know that in the midst of they're the trumpet players, they're probably pushing a little past what they would do in a normal setting just to go watch this. But
Yeah.
great statement of
Yeah.
85% max.
Yeah. And I have that respectful argument with directors all the time with the terms of, um, they'll say, leave it all on the field at contest. And I could see that in playing your show to 100% the best of your ability. Kids kind of interpret that as play as loud as you can.
Right.
So be careful. Be careful. Make sure you describe what you mean when you give that pep talk.
And I will
Day
also
of
say
contest.
this.
Leave it all on the field. We don't want the kids doing 110% of what they can accomplish. We want them at about 85. I'd always tell them I want a really, really, at state marching, at finals, I would go, I want a really good run through.
So I'm a trumpet player too. And I'm complimenting what you say, I remember the emotion of a moment taking over and me just forgetting anything my
Oh, yeah.
I just let it rip as everything I had, that 3rd part was coming screaming through. But,
We've all
uh,
done it.
but at the same time, if the training is there, I appreciate how emotional you get, and I appreciate how cool that chord is. We did "Let It Be Me," the Spirit of Atlanta arrangement,
Mhm.
and the end of it, it's just that big trumpet, huge chord forever. And, I remember hearing next to me, "Yeah," as people they just didn't have any more air. So we had to learn how to plan who was gonna breathe where to make sure it was it's the same kind of concept, is it not?
Yeah, it is. In fact, that was going to be one of my points too, Derek, is on those big, huge moments, assign kids numbers of what beat to breathe on, and that just stays the same the whole year.
Right, stagger breathing.
But if it's Mike Lenny, you're going to breathe on count three
Yep.
in the middle
So
of two whole notes.
and
So
if you do it well, nobody ever knows the difference.
yeah, and there's a great on that inside the circle with our Crown of Indiana guys that our Crown of Indiana. Oh gosh,
You're
what am I
saying
thinking?
you
Crown. I think it's Star of Indiana. Well, those guys started with Star of Indiana, so I'm going to try to justify my stupid mistake. But Matt Harloff and his brother were marchers in the Star of Indiana. They,
okay.
they are the brass instructors of Crown, and so my old brain kind of puts the two together. You know,
Of
but
India.
they did a pedagogy thing called Inside the Circle because that's the greatest compliment for a drum corps. I don't know if you know that or not, but if you go to watch them play, if they look at you and the instructor goes, "Hey, Mike, come inside the circle and listen to this."
Right. I've watched the videos, yeah.
That's a big compliment. It's like you are inside the circle. So it has a whole section. It's like 2 pages, but it gives very distinctly, very great directions how to do stagger breathing in a very great format. I did it with a Legacy High School band up in Wichita Falls, and they did an amazing job just in 30 minutes, and it just transcended everything they were doing on the closer because
Cool.
we just spent time to teach it. But if you ever want to find it, it's called Inside the Circle. Inside
Wait a
the
minute.
Circle, marching band
Say
pedagogy.
that again. You took time to teach it.
Yeah, it took 30, 40 minutes to teach it instead of play louder,
That's
stagger
not what I
breathe,
want. Yeah.
stagger breathe. Don't breathe when someone else is breathing. How many times you've heard that in a rehearsal?
That's what I'm telling you. Yeah.
How the heck do you know when someone else is going to breathe? You don't. That is the most stupid statement. Sorry, I'm going to get flack for saying that's the stupidest thing you can say. Just stagger breathe. Just don't breathe when someone else is playing. At least go. Let's take a few minutes and talk to each other, band.
Right.
Ask the person next to you, what count are you going to breathe on? Okay, I'm going to breathe on four. You breathe on two. At least have some sort of semblance, but it goes through all this cool process on that one page that they'll understand. You spend 30 minutes, you're done with it. And that
Right.
way they can play with power all the way through the show with recovery time, with including your band one, band two, band three. Band three or band two can start the beginning of the crescendo. Band three doesn't come in till the last two whole notes. Then we stagger breathe according to our number assignments for
Yeah.
stagger breathing. You're done.
Look at there. It's a plan.
It's a plan, okay, and it's done, and that can happen with a 40-piece wind section or a 150-piece wind section, okay. The next one I see missed a lot, Mr. Derek, my brother, is on subito moments when it's all since forte, and then we're supposed to play piano.
Okay.
Okay. So you have the whole band play really loud and then immediately play really soft. That's okay. So you're asking them to play really gross and loud, then immediately play with an unsupported sound. That's not going to work really well, is it? So you can get them to play, maybe explain it and have the whole band play forte and the whole band play piano. But how about this one, Derek? Band one plays beat one. Only band one plays beats two, three, and four. Bands two and three drop out on the last three counts of that measure.
Hmm.
Guess what you have? A beautifully articulated forte piano. Now, people are going to push back. They're going to say, Mike, you're not really teaching the musical context of what's happening. I'll get to that when we play American Elegy in concert band.
Right.
And we'll talk about that. But in marching band, you got freshmen that have never marched before, and hopefully I can respectfully argue my point. But I've got a plan in place that I can make that happen. Same thing on the thing they miss also, and you've probably heard this. You can tell they're trying to do a forte piano crescendo, but they don't.
Right.
They just play really loud, and then they play really gross, and then they cut off incorrectly. and they're calling that a forte piano. And it's like, and I'll say that on the judges' tapes that I understand. I'm pretty sure that was supposed to be a forte piano, but you just played with a really bad sound, and then you played with even a worse sound, and then you cut off incorrectly.
So let
So that's
me
not a forte piano. Let me tell you how I would approach this. And at the end of this tape, I'm going to take time to explain this fully, but wait till the end of the tape. I'll tell you and give it a try.
right.
But go ahead, Derek.
No, no, I'm just saying, I know you're trying to do one thing, but let me the 3 negatives that came out of it.
Yeah. Well, there was three negatives that happened, and I'll
Right.
usually end with that. And I want to say this isn't the band's fault. I think you were told to do it this way
Oh, wow.
because I'm old enough that I can take that flack.
Sure.
I'll I'll put the director in shade if it's something really gross. That this band plays so convincingly incorrect right here that it's obvious that you were taught to do it this way.
You did what you were told.
You
Yeah.
you did what you were told, and I respect that. But at the end of this tape, audio tape, I'm going to tell you how I would approach it, and take it if you want to, or continue doing it this way. The most
Or
passive,
don't.
the passive aggressive way I'll say it is I'll go, well, that's one way to play this.
You're saying
And the directors all know that he did not like that. Well, that's one way to play this.
I was gonna go further, but that's all you need to say.
That's all you need to say, because the smart ones in the room go, okay. It's kind of like when the guy walks in, and I'm a terrible fashion person. My wonderful daughter-in-law does a really good job trying to dress me and telling me what to buy and what to wear. And sometimes I'll come out for dinner, and she'll go, "You're going to wear that tonight?"
You say, "Is that what you're gonna wear?"
Well, I was thinking about it, Brent. I just hadn't changed yet. What would you pick? And she'll go back to my closet, wear this
There it is.
shirt, wear these pants, wear these white Brooks. Make sure you wear white socks with them. Come on, Mike. Yeah. And so she picks out what I'm going to wear, and she's amazing because then I look wonderful. I actually might even pick up a date. I don't know. It's in my
You know, it's
there's
funny.
always a possibility, but sometimes directors have to be dressed fashion wise.
You
You have to
say,
say this is how it has to be.
"I'm gonna date us," but Garanimals was not a bad thing.
It was not what Brenda tells me to do. I in the closet I put those clothes together.
See, group them.
I group
For
them by
those that don't know, Garanimals is if you had a tiger shirt and tiger pants, they probably
yeah,
matched.
tigers match tigers and gorillas match gorillas and rabbits match rabbits. You just had to pick out the all the rabbits for shirts and
Right.
pants, and they went together. But don't you wish
Anyway,
band was that easy? Yeah. Um, but yeah, with a forte piano crescendo, let's say it's 8 counts long, Derek. So there's a forte, then you have piano for the next 7 counts as it gradually crescendos and releases at the end of the second measure. So I would tell all the kids, let's break it down into 8 quarter notes. Everyone play the first quarter note fortissimo. The second quarter note, play piano, then play the remaining 6 quarter notes, all just a little stronger than the previous. So, with my horrible voice, I'm going to try to emulate that. So, it'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Got the idea? And then I'd have them do that over and over, breaking into the skeleton of the quarter notes. And then I'd say, do it again. Now, think about what your airstreams are doing as you articulate every quarter note. And I'd say, now put it back into 2 whole notes and make your airstream do exactly the same thing. And it's amazing. All of a sudden, they've got this beautiful forte piano crescendo because all kids forte, then half of them play piano, the other half stick out. And then the other half that didn't stick out, they were playing piano. So now they crescendo greatly. So now they stick out and overshadow the ones who were previously sticking out. Now, no one sounds good. The tone quality is horrible. The tuning is horrible. The release is pathetic. And everything is bad. And what's so sad is they're trying so hard to do it right.
right.
Give them a methodology of how to do it right and make them practice it for 15 minutes. And if you do it once, then the next time you do it, does it take 15 minutes? It takes 2 minutes.
Right. Refresher. Yep.
Yeah. So it works. Okay. But even beginners, I'll go all the way back to beginner brass. They can accomplish a certain level of proficiency in dynamics. And I mentioned it before. You can tell them, make this song sound happy. Or if it's that, there's one that's like a Halloween song that's like, comes around October in the Essential Elements book, and it's in a minor key. And I'll talk to the kids, say, why does this one sound spooky?
Mhm.
And they'll go, I don't know. It sounds spooky. Then I'll have 3 other excerpts ready that I'll play on French horn or trumpet or trombone, depending on the class. And I'll say, does this sound spooky also? They'll say, yes, it does. And I'll explain to them why it sounds spooky because the minor key.
Right.
We flatted the third, the sixth and the seventh, and we've already learned our concert B flat scale. So guess what we learned, Mister Derek?
The
We learn our
minor.
we learn our minor key in the key of concert B flat, and so they understand that. But you can get them to copy, and you can make it sound sneaky. And after they memorize the lines, this is fun to do, by the way. You can get them to emulate with their body what they're doing musically. So if it's sneaky, they can get up out of their chairs and sneak around on their tiptoes while they're playing. If it's happy and exciting, they can jump up and move around, or they can do horn moves. And I know we go back to wiggly bodies, make wiggly sounds, but this is one of those exceptions where it's like, do it as the spirit moves you guys.
Right.
So if you feel like you want your horn to move back and forth, you want to jump up and down, are they going to miss notes? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Will they remember this lesson their senior year, 7 years later? Yes.
Right. Like you say, the end
Remember it.
justify the means justify the end.
Yeah, they go, Mr. Lane, I remember when you let us walk around in our tiptoes playing line, whatever it is, 71, because we were all being sneaky and we were playing sneaky and we were all trying to sound sneaky. So we had to look sneaky. And they remember that. They remember that crap. You know, or maybe it's not crap. Maybe I'll call it good method pedagogy.
Yeah. I was going to say, every time you say the sneaky, I'm a I'm a product of my generation. There was a Sesame Street deal where there was an inspector. I don't remember his name, and every time he would show up, it would go bum 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 bum. And the way I'm just thinking about the way they played it, the dynamics they played it with, it
It
just lends
sounded
itself
sneaky.
to yeah.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. Is what I'm trying to say. I'm
Yeah.
sourcing,
Yeah. You were forcing. That's okay. But it's
sourcing.
okay. Yeah, but either way, perfectly, it's
It's okay,
perfectly
Derek.
fine. It's okay, Derek. We love you, and it helps everybody remember. Okay, but if so many bands play with a very limited dynamics because they're afraid, or they play with too wide a dynamics because they haven't been taught what to do, and they just play too loud or too soft.
Yeah.
So our goal is to find what dynamics can we do, and can you discuss with them what is the intent of what we're trying to do? What are we trying to connect with the audience? And people go, "Oh, Mike, that's so high and philosophical." But you know what? That's stage one.
It's music.
It's music. So you can call me high and philosophical. Call me high.
Okay.
I'll just say I'm glad that video phones didn't exist when I was in college. We'll just leave it at that.
We'll leave
Um,
that alone.
we'll leave that alone. But if they're not connecting with the audience, and you don't have to do daily drills on dynamics, but if you start them in beginner band and figure it out in the stands, and not everything is super loud all the time, you can get things done. But a full understanding of dynamics to allow the performers to communicate with emotion to the audience is pretty much should be job one after tone quality.
Right.
It should go hand in hand. Okay. And isn't that our main purpose, to connect with the audience? Because music in a vacuum is no fun. I practice my trumpet probably 3 to 4 hours a week, Derek,
Mm.
with nobody listening. I make sure
Right.
no one else is in the house because they don't want to hear me rail through my band, marching band, director's band music, playing third part on National Emblem 15 times in a row. Because
Y'all are
I
doing
try,
national emblem? Cool.
well, it's called a March Trio medley. So it's like Stars and Stripes Forever and National Emblem. And it's really cool. It's really a cool arrangement. But there's 500 of us. But
Right.
I practice, and it's not fun. It's enjoyable, but it's not fun. It's not fun to practice trumpet for an hour on third trumpet part for all 6 of my charts. But when is it going to be fun, Derek?
Right. I'm gonna say you're doing the necessary so you can have fun.
Oh, yes. When I get with my 499 closest friends in Los Angeles and Pasadena, and we get in that ballroom and we crank it up, and everyone's memorized everything all the way down to tone quality, dynamics, fingerings, musicality, and balance, and we play it the first time, then it is heavenly, my
Yeah.
friend. It
I
is
bet.
heavenly. So it's worth it to do the planning to get the results. And it's
Right.
not going to happen between prelims and finals at area. It's not going to happen in warm up before prelims for region marching or any other invitational. It's going to happen as you rehearse.
Right. And I think, again, it's worth saying you've got to front load this stuff so you can start the actual polishing as you get closer and closer to the end goal. Take the time to teach it now.
Yeah, because you don't have time to teach it later. They always go, "I don't have time." You don't have time to teach it again.
Right. You don't have time for a high ranking then, if that's what you're
Yeah. My
looking
dad taught
for.
me that lesson by working on things.
Yeah.
Mike, do it right the first time because we don't have time to fix it twice.
You know the old carpenter saying, "Measure twice, cuss once."
Yeah.
So
I'm so pathetic. I can measure 4 times and still mess up.
but the point is still
Yeah, but it's
for
a
the
good
rest of us.
yeah, it's a good point for people who actually have manual skills.
Yeah. But you hate to measure once and then screw something up so bad that it takes twice the time to fix it.
Yeah, and we've all done that with our bands. Let's true confessions.
Right.
We've all
You know
done
what?
that.
I think the efficiency experts will tell you that most people are inefficient because they don't take time to teach it right and do it right the first time. You
Right.
waste all the time repeating.
Yeah.
So there, I said what I had to say. I'm out of the way.
I'm out of the way too. We've
Okay.
solved all the world's problems dynamically.
Was
So
that
get
it?
out there. Yeah, so that's everything, man. That's a lot.
Yeah, but
That's
let's
a lot.
rehash real quick.
Okay.
So just rip through your points real quick in kind of a bullet point for dynamics,
Okay. Dynamics, easiest definition is loud and soft. But
right?
let's get past that. Let's go to contrast and intent, the
Right.
emotional side of it.
You
Okay.
have to make music on purpose.
You have to make it on purpose. And a dynamic marking within its context can mean a lot of different things. Soft can be mysterious, or it can be suspenseful, or it can be tender. So we've
Right.
got to figure out what are we trying to accomplish at that dynamic level? How do we connect with the audience? Um, the idea of intent completely changes the sound, and we've got to also do the shape of the dynamics within the contour of the phrase. And
Got it.
don't be afraid to ask your kids.
Right.
My kids were always a lot smarter than me. How would you do this, Will? Pretty good idea. Let's all do that. Okay. Realize that a lot of arrangements, all the parts are marked the same dynamic. So you've got to discern and tell the kids first trumpets, flutes, first clarinet, alto sax. You're going to play mezzo forte here.
So
Tubas,
the
you're going to play
dynamic was set
forte.
for the full ensemble. You have
Mhm.
to teach your ensemble how they fit into that marking.
Yes. If you have the melody, project it. If you don't have the melody, protect it. Watch out for distortion at forte and breathiness at piano in full ensemble work. Okay. Direction of instruments too. Bell fronts point right at you. We can change dynamics by body movement.
Right.
Not so much with flute or clarinet. I didn't go over that in the full podcast, but I thought I'd throw that in. But
Yep.
a clarinet or flute player can do a lot more body movement without changing their sound and their dynamics. And by the way, clarinets have 2 volumes, in my humble opinion, on or off. Triple F or don't play, because that's pretty much it unless it's a solo. Otherwise, I just disappear into the Pacific Ocean of volume. Okay. They get swallowed up by the waves. Structure, find a methodology that I went through with how to structure your crescendos, how
Sure.
to structure your forte pianos, how to structure your subitos, how to structure everything you do by band one, band two, band three. Give letters or numbers for stagger points. All these kids are going to breathe on beat three. These kids all breathe on beat one. Just be done with it. Start it with your beginners. And if you're not doing dynamics, the rest of the stuff is okay, but it's never going to connect with the audience.
Right. You are not communicating.
Yes,
You're
and it
just
does. And you don't have to be hitting 100% of dynamics,
right.
but you got to do something. It can't be like Muzak. Remember those old days in the
I do.
elevator?
Yeah.
The reason Muzak's boring, multiple reasons. One is it's all the same volume.
Right.
If you're in Academy, I worked there for 6 months. During Christmas, they had the same 12 tunes in rotation.
On repeat. Yeah.
That was hard on a musician
Sure.
because it's all the same volume and it's boring. And to a lot of people, it wouldn't matter. But to me, I knew exactly what was next. I knew how badly it was going to be performed. And I knew exactly what was going to be finished with and when we were going to repeat and how long each section took. And so don't make your band into elevator music.
Right. So I'm sorry. I'll let you finish.
No, no, I'm good.
Okay.
Those all my
So,
points.
could I sum it up with this? Great dynamics don't happen naturally or by accident. You
Right.
have to have a plan.
There has to be a plan.
Cool. I think this is a really cool thing to talk about because I
It
think we
it
skip over a
sounds
lot.
when you first hear the title of the podcast, you kinda think
Great.
crescendo, decrescendo, and there's some reality to that because 90% of bands, that is all they do.
And I think mistakenly we also say it's written in the music. Duh.
Yeah, just do what the music tells you. No,
No.
don't
Okay.
do what the intelligent director tells you to do with what's written in the music.
Yeah. I'll just let you say that.
Okay,
I'm gonna tell you that I enjoyed this. I
more than you
appreciate
thought.
well, just like everybody else, dynamics. How
Yeah,
long can you talk about dynamics?
yeah.
But that
So
was great.
let's talk about steaks, and we're gonna start with a podcast on salads.
All necessary. So, all right, brother. Well, I'm gonna go listen to some Bee Gees and
You do it. Stay
see how
alive,
dynamic I think
stay
they are.
alive.
And we will talk again soon, friend.
Sounds good. It's good talking to you, Derek.